What's going on, everyone? This is Brandon with BiggerPockets.com. If you can hear me okay, let me know in the chat area that you can hear me, that this is working correctly. I saw Rebecca said hi, so I'm guessing that we must be moving through. Doug said hello. Will said hey. So hopefully at this point we're working. So for those who don't know me, my name is Brandon Turner. I am the co-host of the BiggerPockets podcast. If you haven't listened to that, I would highly recommend it. And I'm also an active real estate investor. I do a lot of real estate investing. And I have 52 or so units right now out in Western Washington, but I'm actually not in Western Washington right now. At this very moment, I'm actually in the great state of Hawaii. I'm actually on a month-long, I guess you could call it a surfing safari. So I'm here for a month learning how to surf. Keyword there is learning. I'm spending a lot more time falling and drowning, but it's pretty much the same thing, right? So anyway, I'm having a ton of fun here with my wife and my 10-month-old baby. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I would turn my video on, but every time I do, it's kind of weird. By the way, if you hear like music in the background, that is because I am actually outside of a Starbucks right now. I'm staying at a vacation rental on Airbnb, but the internet was kind of a little wonky tonight, so I thought just to be safe, I want to make sure you guys get the most out of today's webinar. I expect actually over 1,000 people to be here tonight, which is pretty crazy. By the way, every time I do a webinar, people always ask, is this actually live? So this is live if you are watching it on April 12th at, 1 o'clock Hawaiian time, 4 o'clock Pacific time. And yeah, gonna be fun. So in the meantime, I guess why don't we get started? Enough chit chat. Welcome you guys to the webinar on how to quit your job through the power of real estate investing. This is something I'm very, very passionate about because something I did when I was 27 years old, actually. I worked from the time I was 20 to 27 to build up enough rental properties to be able to quit. And that's one of the strategies we'll talk about tonight. That's not the only one. We'll talk about a few different strategies. So we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about that. Again, I'm very passionate about this. I get very excited just about helping other people learn how to find that financial freedom through real estate. So again, super excited that you guys are all here. So why don't we just start going through these slides? I got a whole bunch of them today, these slides. So first of all, welcome. Super pumped you guys are here. If you guys have any questions as we go forward, there's a little chat area on the screen. You can type your messages to me all you want. I don't always see them because a lot of them go by pretty quick. But I will try to do my best to answer questions. We will do a Q&A at the end of this webinar, though, probably, 45 minutes from now or so. I'm going to try to keep this webinar a little bit shorter than normal because I know everyone's got stuff going on, including me. I'm going to go find a beach to lay at a little bit later. And yeah, it sounds like I'm driving. It's because I'm sitting right next to a highway. Well, a road anyway. Out here in front of a Starbucks. So again, welcome you guys. I'm glad you're here. So specifically, what are we talking about today? Like I said, we're talking about how to quit your job, but here's kind of the outline of today's webinar. I'm going to start out talking about 5 paths that you could take to quit, because there's not just one way to make enough income to be able to quit your job. There's actually multiple ways to do it. And so I'm going to talk about 5 different paths you could take to quit. After that, I'm going to talk about 6 vital steps that you need to follow before quitting your job. Like a lot of people just want to quit too early, but I think people quit their job too early. In fact, I did when I quit my job the first time. I'll tell you about that later. But it was probably a little bit too early. So I made these 6 steps to make sure you guys follow. After that, I'll talk a little bit about how BiggerPockets can help you get there. I will talk about some of the tools that you have at your disposal being a BiggerPockets member, and also some of the things that as a BiggerPockets Pro member you can do that you can't as a Pro member, as a free member. Now, some of you guys are already Pro members. That's awesome. If you're not, maybe you want to become one tonight, maybe not. The way I look at Pro is if you think BiggerPockets Pro can help you buy more properties, then become a BiggerPockets Pro member. If not, then don't worry about it. But I'll talk a little bit about that later, and I even have a discount code I'll give you guys if you're interested. So hang tight for the end for that. And then we're going to end, like I said, with some Q&A. So that's kind of the outline for today's webinar. So we're going to have some fun with that. It should be good. I do want to give a couple of shout outs to people. Mitch said, hi from Illinois. What's up, Mitch? Dan from Syria. Wow, that's a ways away. Kristen said, are we supposed to hear anything yet? Hopefully you should. Does somebody want to answer Kristen in the chat area and let her know? Yes, you should hear something. A said, is having a job a problem? Not at all. If you love your job, then don't worry about it. I mean, have a job. But what I believe is if you only have a job, if that's your only source of financial, what do you want to call it, intake, so to speak, I think that is exceptionally risky. Because things happen to jobs all the time. And I know maybe I'm weird, but I can't stand having somebody else in control of like how well I eat or how well I travel or how much time I spend with my family, right? Like I don't want, like if I lost my job forever, like I hate thinking I have to go and scramble around, right? Financial freedom is what we're talking about. I don't care if you want to quit today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, at some point, you're probably not going to want to work your full-time job anymore. That's what we're talking about today. So I do have a worksheet I prepared just for today's webinar. It's going to help you guys actually take some really good notes. So I would highly encourage you to download this. You can get it by going to BiggerPockets.com/412 worksheet. Again, BiggerPockets.com/412 worksheet. And it just kind of walks you through kind of the high points of what I'm talking about today, because, I'll admit it, I talk a little bit quick, and, I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed with all the stuff I'm going to throw at you. There's this kind of general rule when it comes to giving webinars. I've heard it a million times from webinar gurus who teach this stuff. And they say, when you do a webinar, make sure you don't give too much information. Just give a little bit, just give a little taste, and then, charge them $1,000 or whatever for some kind of course. But, that's not the way we operate at BiggerPockets. We like kind of the fire hydrant mentality, and just open up the fire hydrant, give you guys as much as you could possibly take. And hopefully you guys pick up some of that. So the worksheet's designed to help you. I mean, scientific studies have shown that people who take notes tend to remember more. That's why we have the worksheet. All right, so what is BiggerPockets? We'll cover that before we get any further, because a lot of you guys have no idea. We are the real estate investing social network, marketplace, and information hub. We're the largest real estate investing site on the planet. Millions of people come to our site every single month to learn about real estate. And we also have the largest real estate podcast in the world, the largest real estate webinars like you're on right now. We got 4 or 5 of the top real estate books on Amazon right now. So we kind of dominate a lot of different areas. We also have the largest real estate forum, the largest real estate blog. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff. Who am I? My name is Brandon Turner. I'm first and foremost a real estate investor. I've been doing this now since I was 20 years old. I'm 31 years old right now. I'm an old man. And I've been investing. I bought my first property when I was 20. I made a lot of mistakes. I actually quit my job right after that first property. And I'm like, I'm financially, I'm going to be a house flipper, and I'm going to make enough money. And then the market crashed, and I had to go get a job again. And it wasn't until I was 27 that I was able to actually, for real, quit my job, because I had enough passive income coming in to pay all my bills. That was when I was 27 years old. So, it took a little bit. Also, by the way, guys, I am the co-host of the BiggerPockets podcast. Like I said, the largest real estate podcast in the world. I think we're having 150 to 200,000 people listening to every episode now, which is just mind-blowing. I'm the author of several books, like the book on investing in real estate with no and low money down, which I would recommend reading if you want to learn more about creative finance, and also the author of the book on rental property investing, which is usually the number 1 or number 2 biggest real estate book in the world, which is just totally humbling and crazy. And random fact about myself, I can actually beat the entire game of Super Mario Brothers in 8 minutes. I can beat Super Mario Brothers in 8 minutes. That's right. I was kind of obsessed with that game when I was a kid, and I learned how to run through that. So anyway, I figured I'd impress somebody out there. But really, the reason that I'm talking about this subject today is because this is not theory. I actually used real estate to quit my day job when I was 27. I worked at a bank. It was a terrible job. I was making $13 an hour. I was constantly pressured to sell checking accounts and get credit cards and get people to get a mortgage and home equity lines of credits and all this stuff. And I hated that job. It was such pressure. So I worked pretty diligently for the first 7 years of my investing, or 6 years, to be able to quit my job. And today I'm going to show you guys how you can do the same. So that's what we're talking about. Spencer said, lies. You need to make a video of me beating Super Mario Brothers. I should actually do that. So Mike said, without the infinite lives trick? Yes, I can do it without dying once. Without dying once. That's right. Level 1 to level 4 to level 8. 1, 8, 2, 8, 3, and 8, 4. You can do it without dying. Yeah, you guys are all impressed now, right? All right, so let's move on. Before we get to the actual, how to quit your job, step-by-step stuff, I want to give out a free door prize just for showing up today, because I know a lot of you guys are going to, be like, this isn't for me. I'm out of here. And if that's you, I want to, wish you well on your way, but I want to give you guys just a door prize up front to help everybody here. So go ahead and write this down in your worksheet or on a piece of paper. BiggerPockets.com/books. BiggerPockets.com/books. What this is a guide that I wrote called the top 20 real estate books every investor should read. Because here's the deal. There are hundreds and probably thousands of real estate books out there, and there's a lot of terrible ones that you should not waste your time with. But there are a few that I think if you just read these books, you'd be so well equipped to achieve your goals with real estate. So I just put them all into one big guide, like a list of them and kind of why I like them and who they're ideal for. You can get that list or that guide at BiggerPockets.com/books. But don't distract yourself with it right now. Just write down that URL. That'll be live. That URL is good forever. So check it out later. All right, I got a couple more door prizes later on in today's webinar. A couple other door prizes I'm going to give you guys a little bit later. And one of those is the entire slide deck for today's webinar. Every single slide I'm about to show you, I'll give you guys at the end of the webinar. And also, I'm going to give you something called 7 Years to 7-Figure Wealth. And that is a roadmap to earning your first $1 million by investing in small multifamily properties. And no, it's not like a get-rich-quick thing, but what it is, it's a mathematical, step-by-step. If you did this in year 1, this in year 2, this in year 3, all the way up to year 7, and it tells you if you bought a property at this price, sold it at this price, and it just helps you learn how the math works using a concept that I call cash flow recycling. If you've never heard of cash flow recycling, you're going to love this concept. It could seriously change your life. This book's been read by tens of thousands of people. Hope you guys like it. I'll give you that a little bit later. So with that, let's keep going. I want to ask you guys this important question. This is actually part of your worksheet. And I think this is a good foundation to base the entire rest of today's webinar on. Why do you want to quit your job? In other words, what is your why behind it? Now, the reason I think this is a good foundation is because I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys here. Like, real estate investing is not easy. It's fairly simple in my opinion, but it's not super easy. I mean, there was a lot of like sleepless nights I had, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I had to learn a lot of hard lessons. And if I didn't have a powerful why, I likely would have quit long before I got to this point. And so I like to make sure that when I'm talking to people about quitting your job or learning how to invest in real estate, I like to make sure people have a solid foundational why. Now, I can tell you what my why was and what got me through it. It was I'd say it was 3 things. First of all, I hated my job, right? That's an okay why. I hated my job, but I could have just found another job instead and been fine, worked till I'm 65. But the second thing is I love to travel. I absolutely love to travel. I spend about a quarter of the year not at home. Like I said, right now I'm in Hawaii spending a month learning how to surf because I love that. And if you have a day job, most bosses aren't real keen on you just leaving for a month, right? Now, maybe you have a cool boss, but it's unlikely. And the third reason why, and the biggest reason for me, is because when I was 20, I knew that I wanted to have kids someday. I said, someday I'm going to have a bunch of little kids, maybe 1, 2, 3, I don't know. And I want to be there for those kids. Now, my dad was an awesome dad, but he worked like 60, 70 hours a week. I barely saw him. And he tried his best, but he had to work a lot of hours in order to pay all of the bills, right? So I said, when I have kids, I want to be there for every school trip. I want to be there for everything, right? Like, I want to be there for sports and all that stuff. So that was my why. And that's kind of what, we just had our first child, I think, was it 10 months ago? I think 10 months ago now. It was May 26th. We had a little girl named Rosie, and she is my entire world. She's awesome. So anyway, that's my why. And ultimately, guys, and could you guys actually do me a favor? Will you actually, in the chat area, let me know, like, answer that question in the chat area. What is your why? Just so I can give a few shout outs to some people. Just, again, I love to read that stuff. Make sure you guys are, so in the chat area, go ahead and let me know, what is your why? And a lot of them tend to focus around this concept of freedom. Now, people have different things that freedom is. For example, like the ability to travel, like I said, or spend time with their kids. But Esther said to help kids through school. Richard said, I want time. John said financial freedom. Stan said more time with the family. So, right, it's all that freedom, that time, the ability to do what you want, travel the world with financial freedom. Havoc said that. I love that. Yeah, I love this stuff. Family and freedom. Ooh, the 2 Fs. Very good. And so this is the deal. This stuff is totally attainable through real estate. Like, I'm not saying that everybody does it. I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing you're going to be successful. But what I love about real estate more than any other asset class is your ability to build a plan to get there. And that's what we're talking about today. So let's get to it. Talk about the 5 paths that you can take to fire your job or fire your boss. How do you quit? Like, here's 5 completely different paths that you can take. And again, if you're just joining us right now, if you popped in late, don't mind the traffic. I'm sitting at a Starbucks right now in a little town called Kailua, over on the other side of the island on Oahu. So a little bit of traffic here, but enjoy it. All right, so let's get to the 5 paths that you can take to fire your job. You guys got your pens, papers, worksheets handy? All right, here we go. Number 1, let's talk about house flipping, because that was the first strategy that I was going to use to achieve that financial freedom. I was going to flip houses. Now, for those of you who don't know what house flipping is, I mean, I don't know where you've been the last decade. Like, not watching HGTV, that's for sure. But house flipping is the idea where you buy a house, and you fix it up, and you sell it for more. Right? Does that make sense? So you buy a house, you fix it up, and you sell it for more. Now, the way that I like to look at quitting your job, remember, today's webinar is all about quitting your job. So here's how I look at that when it comes to flipping. How much profit do you want to make per house flip? That's the first question. How much profit per deal would you want to make? The next question, how many deals would you need to replace your income? And then the third question, how do you get those deals? How do you get those deals? Those three questions can fundamentally change your life. Let's talk about, give an example. How much profit would you want to make per flip? Typically, when I look at flippers, I see guys making anywhere from $10 to $50 or even $100,000. Now, if you're in a smaller market, making $100 on a flip is really tough. But I'd say average, I would say probably $20,000 to $30,000 on a flip is what I see pretty typically for flippers. So let's just use the middle of that. Let's say $25,000. If you want to make $25,000 per deal. So if that was true, if you would make $25,000 per flip, how many deals per year would you need to replace your income? Do some quick math. If you need $100,000 to live, then how many deals would you need to replace your income? Potentially 4, right? Now, what I generally recommend is set a goal that's double that. Write that down in your worksheet or something. I think it's important because things go wrong, right? It's better to have too big of a goal and miss it slightly than to not have than have a goal exactly where you need it and then come up short. So how many deals would you need? So in that case, if you wanted $100,000 a year, I would shoot for 8 flips per year. Now the question comes up, how do you get those deals? And that's a conversation we can have a little bit later in today's webinar. We're a little bit later, if you guys want, we're going to actually go through a real life analysis together. We're going to go look for a property that's on the market. We're going to analyze it, and we're going to decide how much we can pay for it together. You guys can help me find a deal, maybe to flip, maybe to do a rental. We'll look at that a little bit later. So Chris said 3, George said 2, Steve said 23. So those are like, once you do that math, it's going to help you. So here's kind of the process I go through when I look at finding deals. Now, if you've been on a webinar with me before, you've heard this before, but it doesn't hurt to hear it again. How many deals do you need to offer on to get one accepted? And then how many deals do you need to analyze in order to make an offer? And then lastly, how much marketing do you need to do to get enough deals? Do you understand what we're doing, guys? We're actually working backwards and we're building a plan. This is called a deal funnel. And I think it's probably the most important concept you could possibly learn in all of real estate. For example, how many deals do you need to offer on to get one accepted? Well, for me, typically, I get 1 out of every 10 of my offers accepted. I'm at about a 10% acceptance rate, which means 90% of my deals are failures, which is okay with me. You know, in high school, they tell you 90% wrong is an F. In real estate, I call that an A+. If I can get 1 out of 10 accepted, I'm good with that. Now, in order to make 10 offers, though, how many deals do I got to analyze? Well, it depends. You know, I might analyze 20 deals and only half of them I might make an offer on. Or I might analyze 30 deals and only make an offer on a third of them, right? So it might be different for everybody. Maybe I'm only going to analyze 10 deals and I'm only going to make an offer on every deal that I analyze, right? But let's just say, I don't know, for fun today, that you're going to need to analyze, I don't know, how about 30 deals? That sound good? 30 deals to analyze, and you're going to make an offer on maybe a third of them. Now, is this over a month or over a year? Well, it depends. I mean, are you trying to buy a deal every month? Or are you trying to buy a deal every year? Hey, Dave has joined the room. Dave is my, I don't know if you guys have like tech problems. Dave is awesome, and he helps out with the tech side of these webinars. So anyway, say hi to Dave if you see him. All right, so the last question is, if you needed to analyze 30 deals, let's say you want to analyze 30 deals over the next month, how are you going to get those leads? In other words, how much marketing do you need to do to get enough deals to analyze? How are you going to get 30 deals that you're going to analyze in order that you can make offers on 10 of them? See, most people, I'm going to be honest with you guys, most people, when they look at real estate investing, they're like, oh, I saw a property. And then a week later, they're like, oh, I made it. I went and looked at one with an agent. Like, they have no plan. But let's talk about building a plan. I mean, how much marketing do you need to do to get 30 deals to analyze? Well, 30 deals probably you could get just by calling up a real estate agent and saying, hey, can you send me over a list of every property under $200,000 in my area, or whatever the number is for you want, right? That would probably get you 30 deals. Then you can go analyze one every day. At the end of the month, you'd have analyzed 30 deals. Pretty cool, right? So again, we're just working backwards. So it's no longer a mystical, like, man, how do the professionals get so many deals? This is how they do it. Like, every successful investor I know, every single one uses this deal funnel to achieve their goals. All right, so that was number 1, was house flipping. Maybe that's for you, maybe not. Let's go on to the other 4. Number 2 is this concept called wholesaling. By the way, guys, I did turn the chat on private right now, so if you can't see the chat moving, that's because I sometimes turn it on private just so it doesn't distract everybody. But I can still see your messages. All right, so let's talk about wholesaling. Wholesaling is this idea that a person goes out and finds a good deal, right? I go and find a good deal. And then as a wholesaler, I don't want to buy the deal. I just want to find a house flipper who's going to buy the deal. And I'm just going to charge them a little bit more money. Let me give you an example of that. Let's say I went out and I found a house that was really nasty. And I was able to sign a contract with the owner to buy it for $100,000. Let's just say I could buy it for $100,000. Now, I go to my flipping friend Fred, and I say, hey, Fred, I've got a house here for $105,000. Do you want it? And Fred says, yeah, that sounds like a great deal. I'll pay $105 for it. So Fred pays $105. I get it for $100, and I got it for $100. I connect those two together, and I make $5,000 in the process. Now, keep in mind, there are legal and there are illegal ways to wholesale, because if you're in some states, especially, wholesaling can be considered practicing real estate without a license. Now, there's a couple ways to fix that. You can get your real estate license and do it. Or there's things called double closings, and there's potentially ways around it. Or anyway, we're not going to go deep into that right now. If you want to know more about wholesaling, there's a lot of information on BiggerPockets about it. But I would generally just recommend get your license if you're going to wholesale. It's the easiest way around it. So anyway, so wholesaling, typically, they make a few $1,000s per deal. So we're going to do that exact same math that we did a little bit ago. How much profit per deal would you want to make? Let's just say $5,000 per deal. Does that sound good? I know some wholesalers make 10, some make 20, some make 2. It kind of depends on your market and how good of deals you can find. It all depends on, if you find a house for $50,000 that you could sell to a flipper for $150,000, you could technically wholesale for $100,000. The problem is finding good deals is tough, right? It's hard to get that much of a cushion in there to make a profit. So let's just say nice and easy, $5,000 per deal. So knowing that you're making $5,000 per deal, how many deals would you need to replace your income? Let's say you wanted $10,000 a month in income. You wanted $10,000 a month, every single month in income. That's $120,000 a year. That means you need to do 2 wholesale deals per month. And just like I said before, I like to double that. So maybe we set a goal of 4 wholesale deals per month. Now, a lot of you are saying, well, I don't know how to do 4. I can't do 4 a month. I know some guys that are doing 20 or 30 or 40 wholesale deals a month. So instead of saying I can't do it, we ask the question, how do you get those deals? Raphael said, so everyone can be a real estate agent? Yeah, as long as you can take the class, pass the test, you can be a real estate agent. So it's kind of cool stuff. In Portugal, you don't need a license to be a real estate agent. Interesting. Dan said, sounds risky if you can't sell to Flipper Fred. Yeah, there are definitely some special special rules and processes when it comes to wholesaling. I actually have an entire chapter on it in the book on investing in real estate with no one money down. Wholesaling is kind of neat. But again, there's definitely some things you got to know what you're doing before you get into it. It's definitely not as easy as all the gurus make it out to be. So how do you get those deals? If you needed 4 every month, if you wanted 4 wholesale deals a month, how do you get them? Well, you could actually work backwards from what a lot of investors do. What most of them that I know that are successful at wholesaling, they do direct mail marketing. They simply send out enough letters to owners so that their deal funnel gives them 4 deals a month or 8 deals a month or 20 deals a month, whatever it is. So we're going to ask those same questions I asked earlier. Remember this thing, the deal funnel? How many deals do you need to offer on to get one accepted? How many deals do you need to analyze to make an offer? And how much marketing do you need to do to get enough deals? Rick, real estate is really this simple. Not easy, but it really is this simple. Let me give an example, a real world example. I sent out just, what was it? About a year ago, I sent out 300 letters to landlords in my town. And I said, hey, my name's Brandon. I want to buy your property. I can actually give you the letter if you want to see the letter I used. I'll give you that later. Remind me in the Q&A time. But I said, I want to buy your property. Are you interested in selling? I sent 300 of them. Out of those 300, I got like 40 phone calls, somewhere right around 40 phone calls. So the funnel, out of those 40 phone calls, I would say half of them were just duds. They were in bad neighborhoods. They wanted way too much money. Just, they were crazy, right? The other half, though, I analyzed. So I analyzed maybe 20 of them. Out of those ones I analyzed, I maybe made an offer, like a verbal offer, to probably a dozen maybe. And out of those dozen offers I made, I actually got 2 people to say yes. Now, one of those deals fell apart, but the other deal turned into the best deal I did all last year. I bought a 4-plex that cash flows almost $1,000 a month and is going to pay for my daughter's entire college education. And that was off of a 300 letter spend. I spent $300 on letters, sent them out, and that's what I got. Now, are you going to get the same results? I have no idea. Probably not. But that's basically how direct mail marketing works. And that's not the only type of marketing. There's driving for dollars. There's all sorts of stuff. In fact, I've done entire webinars just on the topic of how to get leads. If you're a pro member, you can actually watch those in the pro replay room. So these webinars that you're watching right now, it's live. But if you want to watch a replay of this, just go to BiggerPockets.com/pro replay. If you're a pro member, you can watch past ones. So make sure you watch one on getting leads. All right, let's move on to number 3. Let's work on number 3. Rental property cash flow. This is one of my favorite strategies. And this is kind of like really got me excited when I got into real estate about how to achieve financial freedom. I'm guessing this is probably a lot of people's favorites. So the question is, how much cash flow per unit do you want to achieve? Now, for me, when I look at a property, I typically want $100 per month per unit on like a multifamily property. On a single family, I try to shoot for $200, but on a multifamily, I shoot for $100 per month per unit, and that's after everything. That's after everything. For example, after setting aside money for a new roof that's 20 years down the road, after setting aside money for the appliances that I'm going to need in 10 years, after setting aside money for vacancy, and after paying all the utilities and the expense, everything, the mortgage payment, after everything comes out, I want to make sure I'm left with about $100 per month per unit. So based on that information, let's think logically about this. How many units do you need to replace your income? If you were shooting for $100 per month per unit, how many units would you need to replace your monthly income? So if you wanted $5,000 a month, you would need 50 units. If you wanted $10,000 a month, you would need 100 units, unless you're getting better than $100 per month per unit. Now, I get $100 per month per unit, but maybe you want $200 per month per unit, right? And that's fine. But for me, 100 is a nice number to try to shoot for. So I know that if I want 10 grand a month, I need 100 units. And that's exactly what I'm aiming for right now. Like I said earlier, I have 52 units right now, and I'm shooting for 100. If I can get 100, I'll call that, pretty darn good. I should have that hopefully by the end of this year, based on the marketing that I'm doing. I should be able to hit that, but we'll see. Last question. How do you get those deals? How do you get those deals? Again, a lot of people are saying, well, I could never buy 100 units. Well, why not? If you ask yourself, how do I do that? All of a sudden your brain starts working. You start coming up with a plan, and you realize that maybe that's not as hard as you might think. Maybe you can buy 100 single family houses. Maybe you buy one 100-unit apartment complex. Or what if you bought one property this year, 2 properties next year, 4 the year after, 8 the year after, 16 the year after, 32 the year after, right? And then finish up the 100 the year after. Within like 6 or 7 years, just by doubling each year, you'd have your 100 in 5, 6, 7 years. Pretty cool, right? So, it's all about having a plan to get there. And again, I'll say the same thing we've said a few times earlier. Ask yourself, how many deals do you need to offer on to get one accepted? How many deals do you need to analyze to make an offer? And how much marketing do you need to do to get enough deals to analyze? Again, it's really this simple. You just have to work backwards. Let's go over to number 4, BRRRR investing. Now, last week, I spent the entire week talking about this concept. But it's called BRRRR investing. It stands for buy a property, usually with short-term money. You rehab that property. You got to fix it up. We're talking about fixer-upper rental properties here. Then you rent the property out. Then you refinance the property, meaning you get a brand new long-term loan on it. And then you repeat the process. So let me give you an example of a BRRRR strategy, how it works. Remember that property I told you earlier about, the one that I sent out 300 letters and it's going to pay for my daughter's college education? Here's the story behind that. So I bought that property for $45,000. Crazy cheap property. Now, it needed a ton of work. In fact, we put $120,000 into it. So while 45 sounds crazy cheap, right? A lot of you guys are living in expensive cities where you can't even buy a parking spot for that, but it's okay. Math works no matter where you're at. You don't have to, it doesn't matter if you live in San Francisco or you live in, Detroit. You can make these things work. But anyway, I'm just giving you an example. So I bought it for 45. I used a private money lender, somebody I met on BiggerPockets, to fund the deal and to fund half the repairs. So I bought it with private money. I then rehabbed it with private money and a little bit of my own. Then I rented the property out, and right now I'm in the middle of a refinance. In fact, just 4 hours ago, I was talking to my lender, and we are getting a refinance, hopefully going to close here in the next month or so. I'm going to hopefully get a refinance for $165,000, getting all of my money out, getting all of my lender's money out, and then I can go and repeat the process. I'll take my lender, and I'll take my money, and we'll go do it again. The beautiful part about BRRRR investing is that it's possible to do with no money out of pocket. In fact, I bought a 24-unit apartment complex with no money of my own using the BRRRR method. I bought a triplex that way. I bought my duplex that way. I bought almost everything I've done has been using the BRRRR method. I love this strategy, and here's what I really like about it, is that you can build some massive equity in these properties fairly quick. Ivan said, I'm currently in a BRRRR property. I love this strategy. Cindy said, do you have to get cheap properties to make the BRRRR method really work? Can I get a retail property? Cindy, you probably do need to get a good deal. And here's why. Because you need to be able to fix it up to get a higher value, so that way you can get the refinance. Because most banks are going to want you to have equity in it. So you've got to have some equity in the property. And if you guys want to know more about that, in fact, I did an entire webinar on the topic of how to make six figures. I mean, how do you make $100,000 a year part-time using the BRRRR method? Last week I taught on that, so if you were here, awesome, I hope you enjoyed it. If not, you do have to be a pro member to watch that. Otherwise, just wait around. I try to repeat webinars every 6 months or so you can wait 6 months and I'll probably do it again. But if you are a pro member, write this down, this URL, and go check it out. And if you're not a pro member, you should probably become one. Like I said, I'll give you guys a discount code later if you want it. Very cool stuff. Very fun things. So, all right. By the way, Anjan said, do you get 100% funding from private money? I have and I have not. So on the fourplex that I bought, I did not get 100% funding on the rehab. I got 100% of the purchase price and I got half the rehab. The only reason why is because the private lender didn't have enough. He's like, man, I would lend it to you, but I just don't have quite that much. And I said, hey, no worries. So I went to the bank and I got a line of credit on the rest. So I still did it with pretty much none of my own money, but it wasn't all from the private lender. I think at the end of the day, I'll have like 15 or 20 grand of my own cash in the deal. But if you don't have that, don't worry. But there's a lot of ways to invest in real estate. Don't let the whole money thing stop you. In fact, I wrote a whole book on how to do that. Yeah. All right. And number 5. Let's move on to number 5, and then we'll get going to the next section. But number 5 is actually not an investment strategy per se, but I think it's a very powerful thing, and that is real estate related careers. Now, I bring that up. Things like become a real estate agent, become a property manager, an escrow officer, a title company employee, home remodeling contractor, an office admin for a real estate investor, marketing professional, mortgage broker, banker, project manager, an intern, a live-in resident manager, or a lot more. I mean, here's my point. Just because, like, if you hate your job right now, which a lot of you guys just absolutely hate your job, it doesn't mean you need to wait 5-10 years to be able to quit. Why not? I mean, if you hate your job, go get a job in the real estate field. That way you're building connections. You're building networking with people, you're learning the business, you're learning the terminology, and you're working towards that. In fact, I know a lot of people who want to become successful in real estate investing. They get their license and they become an agent. That way they can wholesale deals and they can make money as an agent. Right now, the market's crazy hot. So like there's good money to be made as a real estate agent right now. So anyway, I bring that up again because if you hate your job, you don't have to necessarily quit entirely. You could do one of these jobs in the meantime. And that's one way real estate can help you. Now, we do actually, at BiggerPockets, we do have a job board. If you go to BiggerPockets.com/marketplace, there's a job board there, which is kind of cool. So let's move on and talk about 6 vital steps to follow before quitting your job. 6 vital steps. By the way, Raphael asked, how do I get a private lender that's not a bank? So I've done entire webinars on that as well. So if you want to watch the webinars I've done on that, go to BiggerPockets.com/pro replay. But if you could also, if you're not a pro member and you can't watch it, just type in private lender into the BiggerPockets search bar later, and you'll find a ton of articles on the topic. You'll find some really good stuff. And if you read the book on investing in real estate with no money down, there's an entire chapter in there on private money as well. So there's a little bit of stuff there. All right, let's talk about 6 vital steps to follow before quitting your job. Number 1, start with an honest evaluation of yourself. Start with an honest evaluation. Here's the deal. I know a lot of people who say they want to quit their job through real estate, and they're like, I hate my job. But the fact is, they don't have what it takes to quit. Here's what I mean. They say they're going to hustle and they're going to go out and flip some houses. And instead, they spend every night watching Dancing with the Stars reruns on TV and eating nachos, right? Like, they don't take action to back up. So ask yourself, are you really somebody who's going to put in the hard work to make this happen? Start with an honest evaluation of who you are. And maybe you're not. Maybe you need to find another path. Maybe you're not. Maybe you need to find a better job and instead just set aside 20% of your income or 10% of your income into some passive investments so that you can quit in 10 or 15 years. So start with an honest evaluation of you and your skills and your motivation and make sure that you can really do the plan you want to do. Number 2, cut your expenses and save up cash. This is very important. If you want to quit your job, Don't go buy a new car, because now all of a sudden you've got to make $400 a month more to cover that payment, right? Don't go buy the nicest house you can, because now you got an extra $2,000 a month in a house payment. Cut your expenses as much as you can, sacrifice a little bit, and save up as much money as humanly possible. Step number 3, gain an education. So many people try to jump into real estate without ever educating themselves. They're like, oh, I can figure this out. I got this. I said earlier that real estate is simple, but it is not easy. It does take education. It takes understanding how all the parts work together and fit together. The fact that you guys are here on this webinar here, we've been talking for 35 minutes. You're putting up with my random stories and going off tangents. The fact that you are still here tells me you guys do value education. So rock on there. But yeah, keep reading books. I mean, if you want to know more about rental properties, read a book about rental properties. If you want to know more about flipping, go read a book about flipping. If you want to know more about wholesaling, go read something on wholesaling. Listen to some podcasts, attend some webinars, go watch the webinar replays. There's over 50 of them in that room. Gain education. Number 4, define your objective. Define your objective. What is it you're trying to do? In fact, why don't we actually ask that question right now? I'm going to actually open up the chat to public again. Will you guys do me a favor? And in the chat room, if you're comfortable sharing it anyway, I mean, most people don't have last names written here, but in the chat room, let me know, what is your objective? How much per month are you looking to get from your real estate? And I know a lot of you are like, well, I don't have to actually type that in, but I want to encourage you guys, type it in. Type it in. It makes it more real when you actually see that number there. What is your objective? Is it $5,000 a month? Is it $10,000 a month? Is it not to quit your job maybe, but it's just to, quit in 20 years? I mean, when do you want to quit by, and what do you need to be able to do that? I'm saying a lot of 10K a month is very, very popular. There's some 5Ks a month, 7,500, 12K, 30K a month, 40K a month, 4K a month, 10K, 5K, 2,500. Perfect. I love that stuff, guys. 5K minimum. And by the way, we didn't really talk about this, and we don't really have time to go into it, but there are kind of 2 levels to financial freedom. And I don't talk about this very much, but there's 2 levels. The first level is what I hit when I was 27. That's, I make enough money to pay all my bills, to be able to not have to go to work. I can quit my job if I want to. I can live off my cash flow. Then there's a second level, which is where you're actually super loaded rich, where you can travel the world, do whatever you want, buy whatever cars you want. You're multi-millionaire. I'm not there yet. I'm going to admit that. I'm not worth $30 million or anything crazy like that. So, you can have 2 goals, and that's perfectly fine. And so I could probably specify a little bit more. What is your objective here? Maybe you have 2 of them. Your objective to quit your job is to make $5,000, but then ultimately you want to make 20. Great. Love that stuff. All right. Last, number 5. Well, not last, number 6, but second to last. Number 5. Find and define your new income source. Find your new income source. So what is it going to be? Are you going to flip your way there? Are you going to wholesale your way there? Maybe a little of both. Find your new income source. Carl said, I like my job. Carl, I love that. I wish everybody loved their job, but I just know that a lot of people don't. But if you love your job, that's fantastic. I would still encourage people, even if you love your job, still find ways to make sure you're secure if something happens to that job. Or at least so you'll have a good retirement. Maybe in 10 years you won't love that job, or maybe you want to travel more and you don't have the flexibility at the job. Right? All right. And number 6, hustle your tail off. So step 5 is all about making a plan, which we've talked about at length in this webinar. Step 6 is all about hustling your tail off. Hustling your tail off. In other words, you've got to work that plan, which means if you need to analyze 1 deal every day and make 3 offers every month in order to hit your quota, you better be analyzing 1 deal every day and making 3 offers a month to hit your quota. You better be doing that. No one else is going to do it for you. No one's doing your homework for you. No one's going to go and hit your home runs for you. You have to actually do it, which brings us back to number 1, right? Then on this evaluation of yourself. I've been doing these webinars for a few years at BiggerPockets, and I people get excited about real estate. A couple thousand people each week really excited. How many of them actually end up buying property eventually? Man, I would guess it's less than 10%. Because most people will never actually do the work to hustle their tail off to get there. Most people would rather spend their nights and weekends watching TV, trying to pick the winner of The Voice, trying to, make their life as comfortable as possible right now, than build pipelines that generate cash flow over time. So, are you willing to hustle your tail off? I hope you can. So, here's an example. Here's an example that we talked about. Could you Analyze one deal per day. Can I challenge you guys with that? I call it the 90-day challenge. I've been challenging people the last few webinars with the same idea. What if for the next 90 days, and we can say keep your weekends, don't count weekends, but the next 90 days, can you analyze one deal every day? And out of those, could you make an offer on X percent of them? You pick your goal. I'm going to make an offer on 10% of the deals I analyze. I'm going to make an offer on every deal I analyze. I'm going to make an offer on some of the deals I analyze. Can you do that? Third, Z said, I want to be job optional. I love that. Job optional. That would be a good book title, wouldn't it? Job optional. Ooh, I might have to steal that. All right. So the question again, go back here. So analyze one deal a day. Can you make an offer on X percent of them? And then will you get X percent of your deals accepted? Look, I told you earlier, I get about 10% of my deals accepted. You might only get 5% of your deals accepted, or 1%, or 30%, or 100%. I have no idea, right? It's different for every person and every situation, every market. But the point is, this is the process you have to follow if you want to achieve financial freedom through real estate. If you want to buy enough properties to achieve your goals, you can work backwards from it. Like, that's what I love about real estate, guys. You can't do that with stocks. You can't go and invest in stocks. You can't do that with a business. You can't go buy a Dairy Queen franchise and work backwards to achieve your financial freedom. Like, you have no idea how those things are going to do. They're more or less a risk, right? But with real estate, you can work backwards and build a plan. And I want to encourage you guys tonight, sit down with your spouse or your significant other or just by yourself and create that plan. How are you going to get there? What are you going to do to get to there? Now, I asked this question, I talked about how a lot of people come to these webinars and don't ever do anything. Why is that? Why do people never take action? Honestly, I have no idea. But I would guess it's because it's hard work and people don't want hard work. They want to take the easy way out. It's easier to say, my job's not that bad. Whatever, I'll be fine. Here's a few other reasons. Number one, they're not committed. People are just not committed sometimes. They say they are. Kind of like, you guys ever have a friend, or maybe you yourself, is like, I'm committed to losing weight. I'm going to lose 20 pounds, right? And then you go to their house and they're like feet up on the couch watching Dance with the Stars, eating nachos, right? Like they're not actually committed. They say they want something, but if you saw that, if your friend said they were committed to losing weight, but then every night they just watch TV, would you assume they're committed? Of course not. Because commitment is a verb, right? Commitment is something you do, not just something you say. It's something you do. It's your actions demonstrate whether you're committed or not. It's not just something you say. So you guys could all tell me right now you want to have $5,000 a month in income or $10,000 a month in income, but if you're not committed to it, if you don't use action to back it up, you're never going to get anywhere. Also, fear. Eric actually said that in the chat room as well. Fear. Oh, so did Jarrett. People get afraid and they're like, I don't know what the next step is. I'm concerned. I don't get it. So that's not going to do anything. 3, they don't know the right people. People get confused and they're like, I don't know the right people to make this happen. Those are all reasons. Other reason, they don't have any money. They say, well, I don't have any money, so I can't make any offers. I can't go buy any deals. And then lastly, some people say, I can't find any deals. I can't find a deal out there, so I'm just going to sit here and watch TV. I'm going to sit here and relax. I'm going to sit here and pretend my life's just fine because I can't find a deal. Now, I talked about this earlier, like, we're here at BiggerPockets, we're here to help you with that stuff. For example, with networking. If you don't know the right people, if you don't have the right knowledge, connect with people on BiggerPockets if you get there. If you need more education, then learn. I mean, there's so much free information on BiggerPockets. We don't charge for these webinars. We don't charge for the podcasts. We don't charge for the blog posts, for the forums. That stuff, the education's free. BiggerPockets' business model is very simple. We create education that's free. And then we create some tools like the calculators that can help people buy more properties, make fewer mistakes, and have more success. So we monetize on the tool side of things and a little bit on the networking, but the education, it's there for the taking. I mean, yeah, you might pay $20 for a book, but if you want to be a jerk, you can go pirate it off the internet probably. So there's education, networking, deal making. You can connect with people. You can find properties on the BiggerPockets marketplace. I like Todd said, but you can pay $20,000 for education. Why would I want it for free? I love that. That's true. You can go out and pay $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000 for education if you want to. It's not going to get you any closer to your goals. All the gurus out there charging you $20,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 don't have anything that you can't get for free on BiggerPockets. Also, BiggerPockets can help you with the motivation. We can help you with that motivation. We also, like I said earlier, we have BiggerPockets Pro, but even without that, all this stuff, guys, the networking, education, deal making, motivation, help you show you about that Bigger Pockets can help you guys, and that is in working the deal. I'm gonna actually turn my screen share off and back on again. I might be right back. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys. But so what I want to actually do is I want to actually walk through. We're going to go find a property together. I'm going to show you how Bigger Pockets can help you work through the deal funnel and find more deals. So we're going to do a very simple analysis here. We're going to go to Realtor.com. Now, Realtor.com is just one website that has a lot of properties for sale on it. It's not the only site in the world, but it's just one that I happen to like. So let me ask you guys a question. Would you rather do in the chat area? Actually, I'm going to pop up a poll real quick. Create poll. Flip or rent? Flip, rent. I'm going to do a poll on your screen real quick. Would you rather have me analyze a deal or we'll say wholesale also? Flip, rent, or wholesale? What type of deal do you want me to analyze? I'll give it about 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7. If you can't take the poll for some reason, just let me know in the chat room or hang on tight. Oh, well, a lot of people are saying rent. Oh, I should ask the third option was Burr. Here, I'm gonna actually end the poll. We're gonna do the poll again because I'm gonna add Burr in there because if you guys want to do the Burr one, we could do that too. Which so Burr, so rental, which Burr is just rental, but with fixer upper. Rental, Burr, flip, or wholesale. All right, now go ahead and take the poll again if you guys would. Would you rather do rental, Burr, flip, or wholesale? If you don't understand the Burr concept, it's very, very simple. You buy a property that needs to be fixed up, you fix it up, and then you go get a new loan on it. And that new loan, like basically you buy a property, now you have massive equity in it, you have good cash flow, all this good stuff. All right, so anyway, overwhelmingly 53% of people said Burr, 29% said rental, 15% said flip, 5% said wholesale. I think Burr wins out, but if you guys are, the calculators are almost identical that we're going to work through, almost identical for flip versus rental. So stay with me no matter whether you want to do flip, rental, wholesale, or whatever, but let's for fun do a Burr one. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the market of Aberdeen, Washington. This is where I partially invest. I have some properties here. Now our prices range anywhere from $50,000 to $300,000 or $400,000. Let's go like highest price I can show you in my area is $750,000. We don't want that one. We're going to lowest price. Let's look at the really low, cheap ones. This lot is $10,000. I don't want a lot though. Let's go ahead and say just single family houses and multifamily. Let's go ahead and choose that. So here we got this one for 38, 48. Oh, I actually know this house. Is this on the market again? Oh, I analyzed this week when I wanted it, but I was too low. There's this one right here. Oops, what is this one? Oh, I definitely don't want to analyze that one. Terrible neighborhood. Let's see. West First. That's not a bad neighborhood. It's pretty good. Let's look at this one together, guys. $1,000. It's a. You know, that sounds really cheap. This neighborhood. This is a pretty cheap town. Our analysis we're going to run, it works in any market. So don't think that this isn't going to work in your market. You know. By the way, Burr sounds like Saskaya said Burr sounds like a flip. They're very simple. It's a flip that you hold. Some people call it flip to rent. You flip a house and you hold on to it as a rental property. So you get the benefits of flipping and the benefits of rental. So this house looks like it needs some work done. But you know what? We can't see pictures of the inside, so I don't want to analyze the deal. We can't see the inside. Let's go back. How about this one? This is a good neighborhood. Oh, only one photo on this one too. What's up with all the agents only listing one photo? That's annoying. Here's one small. I don't want to deal with that one. This one's on Calhoun Road, maybe. 2-bedroom bath, 2-bedroom bath. Man, there's not a lot of properties. All right, well, let's do this one, you guys. This is one that the only reason I wouldn't want to be in their mother watching this webinar I would offer on this property because I really, really want this one. All right, everyone hold up your right hand and say, I insert your name here, won't compete with Brandon on this offer. Okay, so here's this one bath located for $48,000. I looked at this a few weeks ago. I love this deal. There's not many pictures of the inside. I don't think there's any. There only has one. It needs a lot of work. In fact, I estimated a few weeks ago when I looked at it, it needs about $70,000 worth of work. But it's a really nice house and a nice area. It just needs a good home, I think, work. So Brian said, I will compete with Brandon on this offer. Did I get that right? That's funny. All right, so let's go ahead and analyze this together, guys. So this property, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to use the BiggerPockets Burr calculator. If you go to BiggerPockets.com/analysis, you can start here. All right, here we go. You can also go up to tools and go and actually choose your rental, Burr, wholesale. But I'm going to choose, we got fix and flip, rental, Burr, or wholesale. Let's do Burr because it's a fixer-upper. So we're going to do this. It's going to take about 5 minutes. The beauty of using the BiggerPockets tools versus using it by hand, doing it by hand, is analyzing a deal by hand takes roughly 30 minutes. Doing it this way takes about 5. So I'll show you how fast this is. This is the 3921 Aberdeen Lake Road fixer house. And the address is 3921 Aberdeen Lake. Whoa, that's a nice little lake. Lake Road, kind of Aberdeen, Washington. The annual property taxes. Oh no, I don't know what those are. I'm going to quit. I'm going to go back to watching Dancing with the Stars or The Voice or whatever people watch these days. No, don't do that. When you guys get stuck, when things get hard, first of all, remember your why and then power through it. So in this case, we actually help you power through this stuff. If you don't know how to do anything on these calculators, you can actually hover over these little question marks here, and it actually teaches you how to do it. So if I hover over annual property taxes, it says, how much are the annual property taxes on the property? If unsure, this info is typically publicly available on your county assessor's website. Well, okay, well, let's go over to google.com. Let's type in Grays Harbor County. And I'm going to show you guys now, every county is going to be a little bit different, but this is just how I find it on mine. It might take you a few minutes the first time to find it on yours, but I just happen to know where it's at. The address was what? 3921 Aberdeen Lake Road. Let's see if it comes up. There it is. There's the picture of it right there. You know, it's owned by Wells Fargo. And we know that taxes, let's see, right here, tax information. We know taxes were $1,410 or $1,418. So I'm going to actually estimate a little bit higher than that and just round up to $1,500. So $1,500 a month or a year for taxes. I'm not going to worry about the MLS number, but I do want to put a photo in there, and I'm just going to take the one from the county. I think this one's fine enough for me. All right, so I'm going to upload a photo. I'm just going to drag the photo over, choose file. On the property sales description, I'm just going to copy what the agent put in here. It tells me, it says, check this one out, a fixer on 2 acres close to town, 1 bedroom on the main floor, 2 more upstairs, plus large basement and deck just off the kitchen area overlooking the property. Power's been off over a year, so an LNI inspection, which is our electrical department, will be required to activate in order to activate. Wiring has been stripped. Home needs many repairs. Septic system may be a failed system. Good to know. All right, so we put that in right here. That's it for page 1. Everyone feeling comfortable? Nod your head yes. All right, good. All right, page 2. We're going to put the purchase information. Now, remember, the Burr property, we're going to buy it, and then we're going to rehab it, and then we're going to rent it out, and then we're going to refinance it. So there's 2 loans in play. We have to use a loan to buy the property and another one to refi it. So first of all, what are we going to buy it for? Let's go ahead and buy it for the price they're asking, $48,000. We'll try it here first. We can adjust this later. What's the after repair value? What's it worth when it's fixed up? Yeah, in this case, I'm going to say probably about $190,000. Purchase closing costs, probably about $3,500. Repair costs, $70,000. If you need help with that, you can click expand costs. It even helps you walk through each part of the rehab if you need help with that. Then we have our purchase loan. When we buy the property, our purchase loan, how do we want to buy it? Well, I'm going to use, in this case, a private money lender, and I'm going to borrow $110,000 from a private money lender. I'm going to pay them, I'll pay them 10% interest only. And you guys can walk through this on your own a little bit later. I'm going to go a little bit quick here because we're running short on time. We're probably going to go about 15 minutes over today on today's webinar. Hope that's okay with you guys. We're going to refinance this after 12 months, and we're going to spend 6 months on the rehab. When we refinance the property, though, when it's all said and done, we're going to refinance it for, probably $120,000. I'm going to get a loan for, we'll say it's going to be a 5% loan. I'm going to spend probably $3,000 on closing costs, and it's amortized over 30 years. If any of that did not make sense to you, don't worry about it. Just come back later and hover over those question marks and learn it. Next, we got our rent. What do I think this is going to rent for? I bet you'll probably rent for $1,400 a month. In this area, 2 acres, I bet I can get $1,400 a month for this property. And tenant will pay their own electricity, their own water, no PMI, their own garbage, no HOAs here, homeowners association fees. I'm going to pay insurance. I'm going to go ahead and probably say about $70 a month for insurance. And then we got our vacancy repairs, CapEx, and property management. I usually choose 5% for vacancy. Probably, we're going to have this house really, really nice. We're putting $70,000 into it. So I'm going to go ahead and say 5% there, 5 for CapEx, a little bit lower than I normally do, but that's because I'm fixing it up, everything about it. And lastly, we got our property management fees, probably 10% for management. Now, if you want to manage yourself, that's fine, but I don't want to. And then we have our future assumptions. What do I think this property is going to do in the future? I'm going to say I think the income's going to go up 2% per year. My property value will climb maybe 2% per year. The expenses will probably go up 2% per year. And when I sell the property someday, I got to pay an agent 6% plus closing costs. So I'll say probably 9%. That's it. Let's calculate our results right here and let's see what we come up with. What do you guys think? Good deal? Bad deal? What do you think? Now remember, the BRRRR strategy has 3 phases. There's the phase where we buy the property. Then there's the while we're rehabbing it. And then we're rehabbing it. Then there's the rental period. And then there's after the rehab. During the rehab period, this is the numbers we're looking at. Don't worry about this. I don't really care about this too much, but this is what I worry about right here. During the rental period, when we're paying the private money lender, during that first year with the private money lender, I'm probably going to be losing $61 a month. And I kind of expect to lose money a little bit when I'm doing that. But what I really care about is this tab right here, the refinance tab. I can see that after the refi, I'm going to estimate that I'll be clearing about $210 a month in cash flow. What did I tell you guys earlier? When I look for property, I look for $100 per month per unit for a multifamily, or $200 a month in cash flow on a single family. That's pretty kind of cool, right? Also, you can see my return, like how much money, like a return on investment I'm getting, is going to be a whopping 56% on this deal. So that's crazy. So that's why I like these kind of deals. Now let's go look for more information. First of all, I can see, how did my expenses add up so high? How did I end up with $1,400 in income and $1,189 in expenses? Well, here it all is: vacancy, CapEx, management, taxes, repairs, insurance, principal and interest, all that kind of cool stuff, right? All that cool stuff. And by the way, I know you guys went really, really fast through this, but like I said, if you want to go through this on your own later, I highly recommend it. You learn better that way anyway, so make sure you got a deal when we get off this webinar later. Down below this is where I get really excited though. Check this out. What if I bought this property, I held onto it for 5 years, and then I sold it? What would I make in profit? I could make an estimated $79,000 in profit after 5 years. And that, my friends, is why the BRRRR strategy is so popular and so powerful. It's because I'm basically flipping the property, but I'm holding onto it for a few years so that I get to determine when I sell. I can wait for the height of the market to sell it and get the maximum price. Also, as a BRRRR investor, I get the long-term capital gains tax, which means I pay way less taxes than a house flipper. The average house flipper might pay 40 to 50% in taxes. I'm going to pay 10 to 15% in taxes because of this, because of the BRRRR strategy. I can also go down here and I can see over time my expenses going up over time, my cash flow going up over time. I can see my property value climbing. I can see my loan getting paid off over time. I can see my equity climbing. And if I didn't like these numbers, let's say I didn't like these numbers, I can go back and I can edit it and change in under 30 seconds. I can change some numbers. Calculators, I can PDF report, or I can share a PDF report with whoever I want to that shows the numbers. Now, why is this important? Because if you're trying to get a private lender to fund your deal, or a hard money lender, or a bank, like banks want to see that you know what you're doing, that you've done the numbers. Spouse on board, what better way than to show them something like this, right? That shows that you've done your math homework. You know exactly, or you estimated exactly what this property is going to do in the future. All your numbers you care about. It has little graphs, charts, pictures. You can upload as many photos as you want. Down here, you get this cool little graph that shows a bunch of neat stuff. We've got the graphs, snap even, and then we got more photos if I would have uploaded more. This, every time I do a loan, every time I make an offer on a property, I always do one of these calculator things, these reports, and I print this out. And if I'm going to go offer through my agent, I'll go give it to my real estate agent and be like, hey, buddy, this is what I'm looking at. In fact, I'm actually going to share this with you guys. Go over to the chat area and check it out. In the chat area, I'm going to actually link to it if you guys want to see it yourself. Hopefully, don't crash BiggerPockets right now by everyone looking at it. All right, there we go. Alan said, I've never seen a house in a condition. Give us a definition of a good neighborhood. Sure. So when I'm talking about neighborhood, I'm not talking about like A class where, you know, like millionaires live. But you would be surprised at how many houses need a lot of work inside, even if they keep up the appearance on the outside. A good number of houses out there, even like just good working class neighborhoods that people like to live in that sell well. That's what. All right, so let's move on and go back here because we got probably, like I said, about 10, 15 minutes left of this thing. I still want to give you guys the final door prizes. I got that 7 years and 7 figure wealth book I'm going to hand out. I've also got some other cool stuff to talk about. So hang tight for that. We're probably, like I said, be about 15 minutes over. So hopefully that's cool. And let's go back to our slides because we've got